Hi everyone, I'm here with Monica. I came across Monica on Instagram. She's been doing an amazing job to bring awareness of breast cancer when she's talking about her journey, not only via her Instagram post, but also on quite a few YouTube videos, which is really awesome if you're going through that, to have something like that to watch and get some understanding of what could happen and also some inspiration as well. So hi, Monica.
Hello.
How are you? So
I'm good.
To be here with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. If you could start just telling us how old you were when you were, diagnosed and what type of cancer was.
Sure. I was diagnosed when I was 37 years old. I was about to be 38, and I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. So the stage 3 because it did spread to my lymph nodes.
And how did you find out that you had breast cancer?
I always think that's an interesting question. And the way I always like to tell people is that I wasn't paying attention. That's how I found it. I had a lump underneath my arm that I just thought like, oh, it's a lymph node. Maybe I'm just sick, something's going on, but I never tied it. Never would have thought in a million years that had to do with cancer. So I just wasn't paying enough attention to my body.
So was it kind of a soft, like lymph node that when we get lymph nodes, like just...
I mean, I could like move it. So I thought like, it's okay. It's movable. Cause I know like if it's like a rubbery type filling, that it isn't that serious. So I didn't take it that serious. I just thought maybe I'm getting a cold or, like just something else going on in my body, but never what I thought it was. I would have thought it was cancer. That's why I had the lymph node, is because something was wrong in my body and I wasn't paying attention to it.
And so how long did you have that before you actually went to the doctor and did something about it?
Quite a long time. It was probably, I want to say, during the summer of 2018. And then I went in for like an annual exam in August 2018, and they didn't feel any lumps at all. And I said, actually, I do have a little lump underneath my underarm. And they're like, oh, well, let's get you in for a mammogram. They're like, someone's going to call you the next day. And nobody called me. So I was like, okay. But finally in October 2018, I thought, you know what? I should probably call them at this point. So I really just put it off for so long. And by that time, so in August, the nurse practitioner didn't feel anything. By October, it had grown 3 inches.
So obviously you could feel a little bit more.
Yes. But even then I still wasn't paying attention. I had no idea like there was really like a lump there. I was just honestly, it's probably the stupidest thing I've ever done, is not pay attention to my body. It was so stupid.
Yeah, I saw one of your posts about, the reality of not being connected to your body, not check your health, and always think that, that's not going to happen to us. And I felt the same about my diagnosis. I had, I waited for too long until I already had blood on my stools to actually go, maybe there is something. But even so, a part of me kind of felt there's no way I'll ever get cancer. I didn't even allow myself to search on internet the word cancer because I thought that's not going to be me.
Yeah. We don't even think about that possibility. And it's not like I said, I'll never get cancer. Like, I don't think anyone ever says those words because anyone can. I just didn't take the steps to really pay attention to signs of cancer and things like that. It just never crossed my mind. The word never entered my, vocabulary, like you said, to do a search on, is this cancer or not?
Yeah.
So.
And so you didn't have any breast cancers in the family or anything like that, or?
The only thing I had, it was my mom's sister had cancer, but even that, I was just so removed. Like I wasn't in contact with her. It had been probably 20 years since I talked to her. That wasn't even like somewhere in my mind, like this could be cancer, because it wasn't a genetic. So they tested me for like the BRCA, the gene mutation, that came back negative. So even then, I was so far removed from that. It never occurred to me.
And obviously, so in October when you went, that you called them to say, hey, was there anything on that mammogram, or did you call to book another appointment?
Everything happened that same day. So my mammogram appointment ended up taking 5 hours. So I went in for the mammogram. I had a magnified mammogram. I had an ultrasound. I met with a breast surgeon. I had a biopsy. So all of those things was one day. And by that point, I already knew. It's like I was like 95% sure it was cancer. So when they called the next day with the biopsy results, it confirmed what we already knew at that point. So it wasn't like a big shock. I mean, it still was a shock, but it was almost like, okay, we know that. Now what do we need to do? So I found out everything within like 24 hours.
So if you hadn't gone to the doctor in that, like in October, around October time, nothing would have happened because they didn't call you from that first after that first mammogram.
Well, they didn't need to call me. Is that what you're asking? Like
yeah, so like from the August mammogram to October, like.
Oh, so yeah. So August wasn't the mammogram. August was just the annual checkup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then it was like, let's get you in for a mammogram. And I
and you did a mammogram in October. All right.
Yes, exactly. So.
Okay. So do you remember what you felt in the exact moment when they actually, sat you down and said, it's definitely cancer?
It was just unreal. It was, and I think the first thing that crosses almost anyone's mind is, how long am I going to live?
Yeah.
And my kids, what's going to happen to my kids? And I remember the doctor asking, like the breast surgeon, when I met with her, he asked me, like, do you have any kids? And how old are they? And the first thing I thought is, like, she's asking me because she wants to know the age of my kids when they lost their mother. And that wasn't the reason, but that's what went through my head. It's like the worst scenario.
Yeah.
And that's it, is like, cancer felt like a death sentence to anyone, even though I didn't know like the prognosis or anything like that. It was just like, I need to start making plans. I need to do something.
And so then what happened next? Like, what was the plan that they gave to you?
So the plan was to do 16 rounds of chemotherapy. I was to have a mastectomy, so my breast would be removed, which it was. And then I would do radiation. So I did 36 rounds of radiation. And I also had to continue treatment because my cancer was considered HER2 positive or HER2 positive. And that's basically a protein on the cancer cells that makes it aggressive. So I had to get like targeted therapy for that for the entire year of 2019. So I just finished that December 27th. I was going every 3 weeks for infusion still. It was considered chemotherapy, but it wasn't like the chemo that makes you sick and makes your hair fall out.
So it's kind of immunotherapy, or?
Yes, exactly. It's exactly what it is. It was cardiotoxic. So I had to have an ultrasound of my heart every 3 months to make sure my heart was still functioning the way it should be. So, when we think about cancer treatment, going through chemo, there's so many side effects you don't even realize are going to be happening to your body, or the toxins that are still in your body even after chemo. There's so much that goes on to it. So I've also had like low iron, so I've had to have iron infusions. And then over the summer, I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. So bone disease now I have to deal with because, my cancer fed off of estrogen. So it was like, let's put down the estrogen. But because of that, now my body is like a 70-year-old where, estrogen was good for your bone health and things like that. And now I don't have that. So it has just been, it's not ever just cancer. It is like cancer and everything else that happens,
around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started chemo straight away, or?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed October 31st, 2018, and I started chemo November 19th. So that's, and then 2 weeks later from that point is when I started to lose my hair.
So it happens pretty quickly with the breast
Yeah.
cancer medication, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, 15 days it took, and I could just go like this, and I could just start to pull out hair. It was the craziest thing.
It's an interesting experience, isn't it? I remember my first question, and I am really not a very vain person, to my oncologist was, am I going to lose my hair?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, with my cancer, it wasn't 100%. It's not like the breast cancer treatment. Most people can keep like a very short hair, but I lost more than most, and
Yeah.
I shaved my hair.
Yeah, I did too. And that was honestly losing your hair. And I'm not a vain person either. I really liked my hair though that I had. It was long and black, and I loved styling it. That's probably the most traumatic thing that happened during chemo. And I had a hard time looking at myself in the mirror. I had a hard time seeing a cancer patient. It was just devastating to look that way. It was devastating for me to see, how does my husband view me?
Yeah.
You know, and of course, I mean, my husband is so supportive and he loves me regardless, but that was hard to feel attractive.
Yeah.
Or to feel wanted, because it's like, I felt like a creature. I felt like an alien. It was just a hard thing. And I'm still traumatized by that. And I don't think a lot of people probably realize that when you're a cancer patient, you suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. So certain things will trigger the feeling of going through chemo, or trigger the feelings of worthlessness.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very, it's very ongoing.
Yeah, it took me like 3 to 4 months. Mine wasn't so sudden, so I had my hair falling out everywhere, and it got to the point that I used to go out, and if I had a beanie, I couldn't take the beanie off anymore because you'd see patches. Yeah. So one day I came home and I said to my husband, that's it, I've had enough, you need to shave my head off. And he said, well, like now? And I was like, yeah, right now. And we did it while the kids were in the bath, and I said to the kids, like, look, mom's going to shave her hair, and it's going to be just like daddy, and it's going to be just fine because I'm going to grow my hair. And I think because I had time to get used to, like, I think when the breast cancer treatment is just like from one day to another, and it just takes all your femininity away, right? Because it just takes, like, almost like the difference between a man and a woman. Like, I'm not a woman anymore. Like, who am I? Like, it's just so hard. And I remember watching this really silly movie about a lady that she was very vain, and she had this hair, and anyway, she dyed his hair, and it was awful, and she had to end up shaving the hair. And for her, it was such a big thing, like, because for her, it was all about looks. And I remember that, she kind of got out of her house and went to her work, like, owning it, like, she had shaved head and everybody's looking at her, and she was just like, that's it, this is me, I'm owning it. I don't need a hair to be, somebody special. And I don't know if that helped me, but, sometimes I would go out and I would catch people looking at me. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, oh, why are they looking at me? And I was, oh, yes, because I haven't got hair. And that's hard, to deal with that, like, all the time, because where I live is really hot. So I couldn't all the time have a beanie on or a hat on because it was hot. And people look at you like it's almost like they know you've got cancer, right? Like, they look at you with pity. They're like, oh. And that is really difficult.
Just as much as I would have looked at someone with pity before. Like, I had seen cancer patients, and you just, like, your heart breaks for them. Now it breaks a little more because I know what they're experiencing. Yeah. But, and I think you're right that, hair is not our identity. Yeah. But man, it helps to make us feel really pretty and beautiful. Definitely. And I would reflect a lot when I didn't have hair, like, really focusing on who I was on the inside. Like this is what that means, because this outside shell is absolutely nothing. Yeah. It really, like, hit me, like, who am I on the inside? And I was still Monica. I still had a beautiful soul and a beautiful heart. And that kid that I have, my son, I was still his mom. It
Yeah.
meant nothing to him that I had a bald head. And that was the most revealing thing, is that I was still me, and my son still loved me. I was still, it didn't matter to him. He would come and put lotion on my head out of nowhere. He would just, massage my head for me and kiss my head. And it was just like, that was so, to me, that was a gift of cancer. So I often say that I'm not thankful for cancer, I never will be, but there are certain gifts that you do get with cancer. And seeing my son able to care for me the way he did, and to show me unconditional love the way he did, I never would have seen that side of him without cancer. This
Wow.
was so rewarding for me to experience that as a mom.
And how did you, like when you started having chemo, how did you feel? Like, how did you, like, how did you embark on this journey of, like, getting a little bit more inwards, and, obviously a little bit about the physical effects and also the mental effects of 36 sessions of chemotherapy?
Yeah, so it was 12 of chemotherapy and 36 of radiation. I mean, it
Yeah.
takes a toll on you physically, and it feels like I'm just run down, fatigue. You just go in day in, and especially radiation. Radiation is every day, 5 days a week
Wow.
for like 6 weeks. So you don't get a break. Like, you have to go in every day. And it's the whole journey takes a toll. And like you mentioned, even mentally, that's been the hardest part. So after chemo ends, you're done counting down, and then radiation, and then you're done counting down, and then it's like, well, now what? There's nothing to count down to. And it's like, it really is trying to adjust to this new life after cancer, because you realize your life will never be the same. It's never really over. And I think sometimes people think like, oh yay, you're finished and you're in remission. And it's like, it's not that easy. And so the hardest part I have now is the mental part. And I felt like I was mentally strong before cancer. And now, I deal with depression. I never had to deal with depression. I deal with anxiety. It just comes out of nowhere. And that has been the hardest part, because this is not me. This is not the Monica before cancer who could just take on the world and go to, I was going to school before I had cancer, and I tried to do that again like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, I can't, like, I'm just tired. So it's like adjusting to this new life of mine is
Almost
hard.
accepting, isn't it? Accepting, like, this is your, a new person. Like, I remember going to my GP, and she said, look, you can't just use it up all the water in your cup. You have to keep your cup a little filled, and otherwise, what are you going to do? And it's a constant balance of, like, how much, where will I put my energy today? Because you can't just work to the ground anymore, and, trying to be the best mom, the best wife, the best way. You can't. You've just got to really spread it out, and obviously have time to focus on yourself.
Yep.
So did you work or during the treatment?
Yeah, I worked full time all the way through. And when I say full time, I worked from home. I worked from chemo. Could I have taken time off? Yes, but my employer was super understanding and didn't really want me to use vacation time for treatment. So they allowed me to just take my laptop home, and that was so helpful. They allowed me time to recover after chemo, and I would just pop on and do some emails, and that was so helpful. Looking back, sometimes I wonder, like, would I work during chemo if this happened again? And I don't know, because you go to so many appointments at first.
Yeah.
And I felt so guilty doing that while I was working. I mean, it's just appointment. I mean, I think there was one week I had 7 appointments.
Yeah.
And I could go, and that was fine, but it's almost like, would I have been better off just not working so I can take care of myself and really heal?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, but at the same time, working made me focus less on cancer. So it kept me like kind of normal. the normalcy in my life. So I still don't know, like, should I have worked? Should I not have worked? It's kind of like, it could have gone either way.
So did you take any time off after any of the, treatment or surgery or?
Yes. So when I had my mastectomy, I was off for 8 weeks, and that was amazing. So I really enjoyed that time. I probably didn't need the whole 8 weeks because I recovered pretty quickly, but it was amazing. And I just enjoyed that time, just kind of doing nothing and resting. So it was awesome.
And did you change anything like during treatment or, in regards to, I don't know, the way you eat or exercise, or did you change anything in your life or?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I changed that I'm super proud of is I went plant-based, like a plant-based diet during my journey. And it's almost been a year now. And I learned so much about food. And I was telling my husband the other night, like, I don't know if I realized, like, certain foods can cause cancer. Certain foods help fight cancer. So when I started, like, educating myself, that was the biggest thing that changed for our family. And I don't regret it one bit. And I feel so good now than I ever have before. So that was the biggest thing. I should exercise more, which that'll be my next thing that I tackle, because exercise helps fight the recurrence of breast cancer. So that will be the next thing that I do. And I've also just changed things around the house. Like, I changed the makeup that I use, because the makeup I was using had so much crap in it. Fabric softener. So little by little, I'm starting to switch a lot of things out in our house, just because I feel like cancer was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call to things in our environment that aren't good for us. So I feel like that's a lot of patterns I see with cancer patients. It's almost like, I can see why this is bad for me now. So, yeah.
So on that note, like, do you know why you got cancer?
No, I wish I knew. And that's the thing, is like, you feel like your body betrayed you. Like, where did this little cell start, and just invade my body and just grow? And sometimes it's frustrating because it's so unfair. It's so unfair when I look around and I think, why me? Like, and I know there's no real reason besides, like, things maybe in my environment or things I was doing. I don't know. Like, I didn't smoke. I barely drank. I felt like I was healthy.
Yeah.
So it just blows my mind. I just think, like, how did this happen to me? I was so healthy, and it just, I don't know why.
So food-wise, you considered yourself before like healthy, like cooked at home from scratch, didn't, like you said, you didn't drink, didn't smoke, like obviously being plant-based now you understand that there were so many more things that you could do, but that you were doing already. But before you got diagnosed, you were eating reasonably healthy. It's not like you were binging on processed food or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. So I considered myself healthy, but not like, now that I've gone plant-based, I don't think I was really healthy. Like, okay, if I eat a donut today, I probably shouldn't eat a donut for the rest of the week. Like, or if I eat out today, if I, fried chicken, or I don't know, I got to eat healthy the rest of the day. So that was my way of thinking I was healthy, of being conscious of things. But was I really healthy now that I know what healthy is?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest, like, mind shift, isn't it? Because like you're saying, like eating one donut a day and fried chicken, for us nowadays, is with a little bit of salad is considered being healthy, right? Because most of us, until we lose our health, we don't understand what being healthy is anymore, because we get bombarded with this unhealthy food and then we don't even know what's inside it. And what about mentally? I mean, you mentioned that you think that it was a wake-up call. Was there anything there that you thought that you really changed mentally, that you thought, that, those were the things that didn't serve me, and maybe there was a wake-up call for me to change those things?
I don't about mentally completely. Like, so I think about some of my behaviors that changed through cancer is I realized through support I really gave a lot of myself to people.
Mm.
And when I had cancer, I didn't get that back. That was a wake-up call, that I spent too much energy on things that didn't really serve me. Not that I do it to be served, but it was just like, I just, what is this relationship doing for me? And it was like, man, I'm giving all of this energy. And when I was sick with cancer, and cancer feeling like a death sentence, I might die, and I didn't get that back, it was like, I'm going to shift my energy elsewhere now, because that really hurt. And so I felt like removing that toxic type people out of my life that just were takers, you know, that was a big wake up call to where, like, I need to really shift my energy elsewhere. It was just very difficult to feel that feeling during that process. I think I realize now too, like, I wasn't taking care of myself mentally like I should have been before. And I'm still trying to get there. So, you know, things like journaling, you know, I know is really good. Things like yoga, taking care of my body and mind, like that. It's like, I wasn't doing those things before, but that is true self-care. Not just thinking about it, but really being intentional about caring for yourself, or meditating. That's another one where it's just like, wow, like this is really helpful. So I feel like in that way too, it was a wake-up call.
So it's almost like a little bit more in tune with things that drain your energy, isn't it? And things that kind of fill your cup. And, you know, being a mom, I have always found really hard to do anything for myself. It was all about the kids after I had kids, you know, and before you know, like, my son is 8 now, and my daughter is he's going to be 8 and she's going to be 6. And it's like, you know, I never took time out. You know, I was either working or being a mom or a wife, but I was never being me. And I really, I am super protective of that kind of me time, you know, like doing my yoga, my exercise, my meditation, because, yeah, if you don't fill your cup with those things, you're just constantly draining all your energy, and there is nothing left on your bucket.
Yeah, and it's probably the point I realized is I was giving all of myself to people. It was draining me. Like, and so it was just like, now I know, like, where my energy should go. And sometimes it will just come back to me and take time for me. I think that was evident that I wasn't doing enough of that.
And what do you think was the, like, most important things to get you through chemo? You know, like, you know, is it, you know, mindset, or was it something physical that you did? What it was that?
I wish I knew. Like, I wish I had a great answer for that, because it really was taking it day by day and just trying to get through each day and surviving each day. It's easy to feel sorry for yourself through chemo, and, you know, and it's trying not to feel sorry for yourself. And I think it's also being around people who do lift you up, because the world is an amazing place, and the world has amazing people. And through their support was really the most helpful. It was just like the reminders, like, we're here for you, and we're rooting for you. The little acts of kindness people would do. I do feel like a lot of the women I see on Instagram, like, what got them through was their faith. And I wish I had their faith, because I think, like, it really helped them mentally heal. And I was a little envious, like, man, I wish I had that, because that sounds like that gives them peace of mind, a lot of peace of mind, and it gives them a lot of hope. But for me, it was more just having people in my circle to help me get through each day.
Yeah, I feel faith definitely has helped me. I've always believed in God before cancer, but having cancer, I kind of rebuild that relationship a bit stronger. And like you said, it's just a day by day thing. And when things go wrong, it was so reassuring to know that, or just to feel like, you know, it's in God's hand. Because, as you know, it's so difficult to even know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Because from one minute to another, you could be in hospital for whatever reason. So there is no point in even planning what's going to happen tomorrow, because you don't know. And in a world that we control everything, it's so hard to all of a sudden live like that because we're not used to that.
You're right. Absolutely.
And so in regards to the mastectomy, so did you say it was 8 weeks that you were at home? Was that at the end of the whole treatment, right? Like after the chemo, radiation, and then you had the surgery at the end?
The surgery was in the middle.
The surgery was in the middle. Okay. So was that really hard, or was it just physically?
It's amazing. Like, it wasn't hard. I went in, like, I want to say on a Tuesday morning, and I was home the next day, Wednesday. Like, it was so fast. I know it was crazy.
You recovered well.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all for me. But the most annoying thing about the surgery was they have drains that come out of you on your side, like tubes, like little bulbs that fill up with blood, and you have to empty them. That was probably the hardest thing because you have to sleep with them, you have to shower with them. That was the most probably annoying part. But as far as the healing, I mean, it was fine. It was surgery. It wasn't anything too crazy besides losing a breast. I mean, that was pretty much it. So
yeah. So did they, as they recommended you to have the mastectomy, did they give you a choice, or did they say, okay, we think that you need to have a full mastectomy?
It was a mastectomy because it had spread to my chest wall. So I really didn't have a choice to have a lumpectomy, which would have just been a piece of the breast. It had to be the whole thing. And then
and both breasts as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, do you say both or one?
Yeah, just both.
I had one.
Both. Just one. Okay.
Just the right one. And the pathology report showed that they say it's like your margins were positive, which isn't good. And that's what mine was. It means like the cancer went up into the edge of what they took out of my breast. So there was still at least a centimeter left of cancer in my chest wall after my mastectomy. So that's why I had to have the radiation to help, get rid of it, whatever was left.
Yeah. And do they give you an option to take both breasts or not really? The option is always to take one, or do they recommend you to take the other one as well?
There's always an option. I went back and forth. Like at first it was like, just take both. I don't want to go through this again. And then it was like, oh gosh, I really like my breast, like having the one breast, like, because you lose all sensation. So like on my right side, I don't feel a thing. It would have been the same thing on the left side. It would have just been no sensation, no nothing at all. No nipple either. So I was like, I'll keep my left one. However, I'll probably have it removed later this year, to be honest. And I'm okay with that decision. I'm glad I kind of waited to kind of see how I felt about it. Like I have it, but man, now I'm super paranoid. I'm feeling like every day in the shower, I'm doing like a breast exam, feeling around. So later this year, I'll probably end up having the other breast removed.
And then is an option thing that you have reconstructive surgery or not really?
There's an option to have like implants done, but I didn't want implants. Mm-hmm. There's an option to take your stomach and build a breast with it. I was going to do that, but now I don't want to do that. So I'm completely flat on the right side. I have a prosthetic in there right now that looks like a real breast. And I'm okay. I'm just, I'm okay. And I'm just happy to be alive with one breast right now, and just continue living my life with my family. This is just, again, it's the new normal that people talk about, but I'm here. I didn't know if I was going to be here the day I got diagnosed. I didn't know I would, have a YouTube channel or talking to someone in Australia, sharing my story. So I'm just so thankful to be alive.
Yeah, awesome. And so now, so you mentioned obviously you changed your diet, and so your diet, you mentioned you changed not only for you but for your whole family. So your son, who is 4, he's also eating. That's awesome. a healthy
Yes,
diet with you.
he's not 100% there, but I will tell you, he eats more vegetables than he ever has before. Like he asks for red peppers and orange peppers and carrots and cucumbers. That's been a positive. Does he still eat meat? Yes.
Yeah, but
He's not going to eat beans like for dinner. Like, you know, I just wish he would. So, but we still do organic food for him. And eventually I think down the road, we'd love to transition him off. But he doesn't eat any dairy already, or like eggs. He's never had those because he has food allergies. So that piece of it worked out really well for him. So it's just getting off the chicken right now. So.
And your husband embraced all of those changes as well.
And I'm the one who cooks, so he has to.
That's awesome though, because you know some partners and husbands, they wouldn't embrace it. That's I think that's a great achievement. There you go, everybody on board.
I'm super happy about it.
So, and you mentioned that was a positive thing, you know, during your journey. What would you say that was also positive, you know, in your cancer journey?
I think the unexpected support I received. So like my neighbors getting together and giving us a basket of gift cards when I had my mastectomy. My other neighbor just saying, let me take your son. All of my friends got together and did a fundraiser for me to raise money to go towards medical bills. The most positive thing is seeing the human spirit in action. And I feel like at a time where like there's so much craziness going on in the world, and it's just like people coming together. Like people are just amazing. Human beings are amazing. That was probably one of the most positive things I saw, was the love from people that I didn't expect it from. My coworkers, you know, they were just like amazing. So it was just seeing humans show love and support. That was just like an awe. Or even like my brother reached out to people and said, send my sister some cards. So I would get cards from people I didn't even know, showing support and saying, you know, you're in my prayers, you're on my list at church to pray for you. And that was pretty awesome. It was so cool.
Yeah, I felt that there was so many, like you said, strangers, you know, that they would stop, you know, their own lives to, you know, to help me, to cook for me. Like my co-workers, they were amazing. You know, I started going to a church close to home, and there was a day that I was leaving church, and a lady came running and said, you know, I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, but I just want you to know that you are still on my prayers. And I barely knew this lady, you know, and I was like, wow, that's just so awesome, you know, that it's almost like you start believing that the world is it's an awesome place again, because
that's exactly it. It's like we hear so much bad all the time in the news, but man, there is so much good. And the people it connects us to, this journey in cancer all the way across the world is amazing. It's so, I mean, the relationships you build and the people you meet. Like I've met so many cancer survivors, and they're so inspirational to me. And I feel like, man, where have you been all my life? You know, and it's just awesome. It really is. It's again, a gift of cancer is the people you meet through this journey.
And what's life, you know, what does life look like now to you? So when did you finish everything, the radiation?
I finished radiation in August, but I finished my immunotherapy in December, so last month.
Oh, okay. So okay, cool. And then, so that means that, so because you worked throughout the whole thing, you just kept working and...
Yeah, so I'm still working. I have yet to really do a full 8-hour day of work. I just can't get up sometimes in the morning. Like I'm so fatigued. That is, that's kind of like my new life. And on the weekends, I just want to lay in bed. Sometimes I think it's depression. Other times I think I'm just really tired and my body needs rest. So, you know, I know that it will probably take a couple of years to get all the junk out of my body. I mean, chemo is poisoned, you know, it's strong enough to kill cancer. So my life is just trying to get back to work, get back to just the routine, but I just don't have the energy like I used to. So I'll be tired after this interview and I'm going to go to bed. So.
What was the hardest thing, would you say, in your whole journey?
The hardest, I feel like, can I say two things?
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay. The hardest is the mental toll this takes on you during the treatment and after treatment. Like, it doesn't stop. It is a mental, like, you want to just be like, let's do this. Let's go in, let's beat cancer. And that's how I was, but it was, it's an ongoing thing. And that's hard to see myself have mental health challenges now, because I never did. I was just, like I said, just positive and energy and, you know, cheerleader and just, you know, and I think
because of the, you know, I don't know if you had that, but, and potentially yours even more, because yours, your chemotherapy is a hormonal. So it's obviously messing up with all your hormones in your body. But I used to take a very strong pill, anti-sickness pill. I had to take them on Saturday and Sunday after I was disconnected from the chemo, and there was a hormone-like based medication, and that just messes up with your head big time. And I'll go really quiet on the Monday, so I'll get hooked up on a Friday until Sunday. The nurse would come and take my pump off, so I would have 48 hours of chemo being going through my veins, like just a little bit every hour. And then by Sunday my body was erect, and because I had taken this pill on a Saturday and Sunday, which was a pill that helped you continuously not to feel sick, so it wasn't just a day thing. And I know that because once I forgot and I kept feeling sick for the whole of 2 weeks. And on a Monday and on Tuesday, not only my body was very tired, but mentally, I'm a very bubbly person. I'm very extroverted. My husband would be always like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Because I wouldn't say anything. I would just be quiet for the Monday and the Tuesday. And I think that medication it's not. And on top of that, I was on, I don't know if you had that drug, on 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗥, because I was on the only patient that didn't go into menopause while on chemo. I actually had the opposite. I had the bleeding that didn't stop. So I had to take the 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗥 to put me on menopause, because we couldn't risk anymore having that, because I ended up in hospital for a week and having iron bags and blood transfusions, and it was pretty rough. And that medication, it was evil. I felt mentally, and I felt even more when I finished chemo. I only had that medication in my body because I elected to have a hysterectomy. I didn't want to go back to having heavy periods and being iron deficient, because I feel that helped, you know, contributed to me being diagnosed with bowel cancer, because I was on iron tablets. But I remember it took me about 2 weeks of having that drug on my body, only that drug. And I would be so impatient with the kids, and I'll get so angry so quickly. And I went on the internet and I had a look of the side effects, and I was like, oh my God, is this pill? So they called me and said, the pill now was an injection. And I was due to have my hysterectomy in February. In December, the gynecologist called me and said, oh, we need to book another one for January to hold us on until like the hysterectomy. I said, I don't want to take this anymore. This injection is making me insane.
Mm-hmm. I had the same. I had 𝗧𝗛𝗥 it was like once a month for 5 years. And I got through 4 or 5, and I'm like, take my ovaries, I'm done. And so I had that surgery last month. They took my ovaries and my fallopian tubes. And I was like, I don't have the same side effects, like as far as like irritable. I have another pill that does that for me, but the 𝗧𝗛𝗥, that was just like this pellet, and I'm just like stuck in my belly, and it was big, and I'm like, I'm not doing this for the next 5 years. Like, take them. And that's what I did, just to get it over with. Get the treatment over with.
So you were on the 𝗧𝗛𝗥, not as part of the chemo. That was just before.
This was part of the whole treatment. So as soon as chemo ended, I started the Zoladex. Yeah, so I did that for about 5 months. Then I was like, I'm done having kids. Take my ovaries. So they did.
So if you were to meet somebody today who was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, what would you say to that person?
I would say, oh man, that this is not a death sentence and that you can do this. And there's a world of people, of women out there who can support you and help you through this. And you can do this. It's not going to be easy. It'll be the hardest thing you ever do. And you will fight for your life, literally. This is what it is, but you can do it. And I'm here for you. So I don't care who it is. I don't care where they're at. Like, connect with me and I will help and encourage and do whatever I can. Like, that's why I have my YouTube channel. It's to bring awareness. It's to show people, like, this is what to expect. But there's the other side of cancer, you know, like, it is moving on and trying to just get back to a new life, and let me help you. Like, I just want to be everything for everybody.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Monica, for all your time. I will put your channel under the interview as well, so people can subscribe and have a look at all your videos. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for everything you said, and I think we're definitely going to be giving hope and light to somebody who's going through that.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for asking. It's my first time talking to someone in Australia. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.